Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Were you able to hear that intro?
No, I was not. um,
Okay.
but I got my
You could
T-shirt on.
you got your t-shirt on. You got your t-shirt on. Good morning, David. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. I am Tamara Johnson-shealey, and I have my trusty co-host with me, Mr. David Slavin. David.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. David, we lend this broadcast every week to issues, activists, and activism right here in the great state of Georgia. And this morning, David, I have a bone to pick.
Oh, okay. Something
Mhm.
new and unusual.
Oh, well, on yesterday, it was announced that the Reverend Raphael Warnock has been endorsed by President Barack Obama.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I'm not too happy about that, for him to have his, what do you call it, putting a thumb on the scales.
Mm,
This is the same thing that was done in South Carolina. This is a
yeah.
race. There are 8 Democrats in this race, David. And, you know, how dare, this is party politics. This is how our party operates. How dare they decide who should serve? How dare they decide? This is what the democratic process is all about. This is voter suppression. This is where they want to create the narrative and want to tell people who to vote for based on, popular politics. And, I'm not happy at all this morning, David. I have a bone to pick. And I said, I put out a post yesterday that all skin folks ain't kin folks. Raphael Warnock has no agenda for Black people, no agenda for reparations. He doesn't even specifically address our needs. And we're not playing identity politics. And he's using that pulpit for personal political gain, standing in the shoes of Dr. Martin Luther King, and don't have an agenda for Black people and don't have an agenda on reparations. How dare he? And I believe we're woke. We're woke. Black America is woke. We just got the verdict about Breonna Taylor and what happened to Ahmaud here in Georgia, George Floyd. We're tired. And we're not going to put Black people in high places just to say we got a Black face in a high place. No more of that. We're bigger than that. We're better than that. And we're beyond that. And these times are demanding something more of our elected officials and politicians. These times are demanding that we address and redress Black America. We will never heal as a nation if we don't address the systemic injustices that have happened to Black people. We will never heal. Black people, we are not over it. We're damaged. We must be repaired, and reparations is now. We're not asking, we're demanding. This is a different generation. You see us out there in the streets. Some people in this generation take it, and go further and burn stuff down. We're angry. We're angry as a people. The racial gap, the racial wealth gap is continuing to widen. By 2053, the data says we will have zero net wealth. Zero. We have 2% of the wealth in this nation as a people. 2%. White America has 10 times more wealth. We're angry. And how dare Barack Obama put his finger, what you say, David, put the thumb on the scales?
Well, anointed.
Anointed.
Warnock. I mean, look, this is
He has never uttered a word about reparations. Never. I have never heard him speak directly to Black people. I've never heard him say anything specific. This is what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to do for Black people. He don't even talk about that. Standing in the shoes of Dr. King, standing in that pulpit, using that pulpit as personal political gain. He's a pawn for the Democratic Party. He's a pawn.
I think there's also he is a centrist Democrat, a corporate Democrat, um, and that's exactly what Obama is. We can't ignore that anymore. Uh, you know, and that's exactly why I think he also has nothing to say to working class white people. Um,
Mm-mm.
these statistics about wealth of the white wealth versus black wealth just doesn't take into account that there is a large working class European American section of the working class that's out there that has not benefited from these um, the exploitation and oppression of African Americans. And at the same time, they've participated in the oppression of.
Let me address him, Mr. Antoine, whoever you are, Antoine. I think given the opportunity, he's going to do a great job. Respectfully, sir, he has said that he is going to continue to serve as senior pastor of that church of Ebenezer and serve in Congress. The magnitude, somebody's gonna get the short end of the stick. Somebody's gonna get the short end of the stick. Is it gonna be the church and those parishioners whose souls he's supposed to be saving? Or is it gonna be the state of Georgia? Somebody's going to get the short end of the stick. Okay, David, I'm done. He doesn't have an agenda specific to Black America, to Black people, and nor does he talk about reparations. Go ahead, David.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that there's European American working people have to think about why it is in their interests to support reparations. The
Say that
reparation.
again, Devin. Excuse me, I'm calling you my son. Say that again. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Say that
that's
again. Say that again.
yeah.
European Americans, say that part again.
Have to think about why it is in their interests to support reparations for African Americans. Um, and the argument and the logic is the same as the reasons for their 40 years ago, why was in their interests and is in their interest to support affirmative action. We need to have equality. We need to be fighting for equality in the working class, for the working class to be able to fight for its own needs and for its own power. Unless there's an agreement on that as on fighting for equality as the basis for solidarity, there's not going to be the enough power available to be able to redistribute wealth and power in this country. So
both the parishioners and residents of Georgia will get the short end of the stick because his time and energy will be split. Yes, saving souls is a job in itself. I can, I have such an admiration and respect for pastors, and because I'm gonna tell you, when I campaigned, and this was a political mistake that I was told that I was making. When I campaigned in 2014, 2016, and 2018, I did not, and let me repeat this, I did not campaign at the churches. You know why? Because I respect that the house of God. I'm a believer, and I respect the house of God, and I never went to those churches and tried to get votes and show up and wave. I went to one church because I was invited, personally invited. But other than that, I did not do that. And people told me along the way, in all three of my runs, 2014, 2016, and 2018, I was making a mistake by not going into the churches and getting those votes. But I have such, like I said, the house of God, I know what the church was and is to me. That's a place of where I needed to go, and I needed to be with God, one with God. I didn't need any distractions. So I never did that. So yes, the church and the state gonna get the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Reverend Warnock does not have an agenda to lift Black people off the bottom. Check out his website. A lot of specificity for other groups, nothing for Black people. How Georgia, we're smarter than this. We're smarter than this. We're smarter than this.
Well, there's a lot else going on, and we ought to think about some of the other aspects of the electoral cycle. What's happening in Georgia?
David trying to shift my energy. It ain't going nowhere, David. I had it since yesterday. Whatever's in me is bubbling up, and it's bubbling up, and it's coming out, and it's bubbling over because I'm angry. I'm angry, David, because, you know, we talk about these gatekeepers. These are people, and I want to, and this is the history. You love this, you'll love this part, David, where, you know, we have these Black people who served as, you know, gatekeepers and did the work. And just like you talk about white people who do the bidding for white America, we have Black people that do the same thing.
Yeah.
This is historical, David. Go there. The history of how this works.
Well, you know, the shift in South Carolina to the South, in the South Carolina primary, that was Jim Clyburn engineered to bring the voters, mostly Black voters, into
deliver the Black voters,
deliver the Black vote to Biden. Really got me thinking about what was going on there, what the motivations were, why why it was effective. And you know, there are two things that I've come up with. One of them is that there is a limited Black participation in Democratic primaries. And the
because
other,
younger Black, stay there with that thought. Younger Black voters don't have a reason to go to the polls and vote. The guilt and the shame, oh, people died, and for you to have the right to vote, does not work with this generation. So there's why we don't have the participation. Now I'll let you finish.
There's a new program and platform that needs to be you know, developed for those people who are under the age of 50. And it seemed to me that that Sanders was doing that, and mobilizing those people. And
he was trying to do that.
Yeah. And in fact was posing a real threat to the corporate establishment that runs the Democratic Party. You know, the first indication of where things were going was the $300 million that Michael Bloomberg spent on his primary campaign, which seemed to be just throwing away money, burning up. I mean, you know, $300 million. Wow. You know.
And that's what I call what Raphael Warnock is doing, buying up the media, throwing out these advertisements, doing the Bloomberg. But we are smarter than that as a people here in this state. I am not getting out of this race. And the other candidates I heard, they ain't getting out either. So the stunt of, you know, putting Barack Obama, putting his thumb on the scales ain't gonna work in Georgia. There's 21 candidates in this race. It's enough for us to go. It's enough votes to go around. Let the best woman win.
Yeah.
Okay, David, you can keep going.
Well, you know, the thing is that the Sanders campaign really did not convince working class Black voters that there was a counterpart to them, you know, a partner in European American working class voters. So the class, everything about class recedes into the background when there's no one bringing European American workers out of their white race identity and into a working class solidarity, um, uh, uh, into a place of working class solidarity. And so the ability of these, corporate Democratic Black leaders to convince people to vote race in a you know in a corporate centrist way, um, rather than vote race in a working class way, is there really does not seem to be an alternative, um, to what they are offering in the way of protection within the centrist wing of the Democratic Party. And for large numbers, it seems to me, look, I'm getting out of my lane a little bit here by trying to explain.
Don't worry, I'm bringing ADOS in the half hour mark. So y'all get ready. And my ADOS family, where y'all at? Chime in. ADOS, I need y'all to rise up. Because you know what, David, this is a conversation that has to be had out loud. And you as a white person have to hear it. And I hope that we get more white people to hear this and spread this message, share this broadcast, because, we're in a time, David, where Black people are indoctrinated by that Democratic Party. They're indoctrinated by the church. It's so many things. We're such emotional voters. We're going to the polls looking for the brown skin, the D, and then the church to sanction it. When we need to start thinking for ourselves, and we're not doing that as a people. So I just hope that my work here, whatever that is, ADOS, where y'all at? I need y'all to rise up. I see my ADOS family in the house. Rise up. I need y'all to chime in. We have to be mindful that as a people, no longer do we go to the polls and vote for somebody just because they have brown skin. No longer do we go to the polls and vote just because somebody has a D behind their name. No. Overt and covert racism. You got one party where the racism is out front. They don't give a damn. They let you know it. And you got this party where you're trying to hide it. But we see it, we know it, and we're not stupid. Black people carry this Democratic Party. We carry the party on our backs, and with our lives, we have been carrying this damn party. And we can't get nothing for our vote. We can't get nothing for our vote. The data shows that we're going to be on the bottom, be a bottom caste in this country. We can't get nothing for our vote. Nothing. Well, the civil rights movement was 60 years ago. We still we going backwards as a people. We ain't made no advancement past that. We all at ADOS. Chime in. We in the chat. Thank you, brother. Chime in, ADOS. Rise up. We're going to have to come for Barack on this one. I'm sorry, Barack. I appreciate your time in the White House. I appreciate what you were able to do for us whatever you were able to do for us as a nation.
Not much.
But let me tell you. Go ahead, David.
Basically this whole stage of the political history of the United States and the struggle that's going on is really a result of Obama's agreement to bail out the banks in 2008 and 2009.
When he should have bailed out small businesses and
should have bailed out tens of millions of homeowners who were losing their homes, to the banks. This is called moral hazard. The banks were taking unheard of risks with other people's money. And instead of being punished for it, they were rewarded. No banker went to jail. The fraud and the manipulation of the financial sector that brought down the real economy. This is all paper. All of this stuff about the stock market and the banks is all paper. And Obama did absolutely nothing well, he didn't do absolutely nothing. I mean, there were some small efforts that were made uh, uh, to to reduce mortgage payments or to support people in their mortgage payments. But we're facing the same thing today. I mean, exactly the same issues. The stock market is doing well. It's completely recovered, and 90% of the people in the country are in a state of extreme insecurity, vulnerability to disease, vulnerability to um, you know mortgage default or eviction, from rental housing, and there's nobody supporting their jobs, uh, you know, and
Barack did return us to sitting again at the back of the bus. I'm gonna put some of these comments up. We got to create, vet, feel, elect our own candidates. Stop accepting the Trojan horse. I mean, political candidates that the establishment brings us. These establishment folks are not going to do anything for us because they were not created by us. She's absolutely correct.
yeah, and if there's the biggest threat that reparations poses uh, to the corporate uh, uh, elites is that it's wealth redistribution, and any form of wealth redistribution for African Americans is going to benefit European American working people.
He wants
Um,
to say Obama did bail out homeowners, David.
well, he to a very, very small extent. Um, and he certainly did nothing for people who were renters. But the protection, yeah,
Obama did tell us to pull ourselves up by our imaginary bootstraps. We don't have no boots or no straps.
yeah, right. So I think that's really was what was the process that went on. The banks came away whole. Uh, the amount of equity that working people lost was on their homes was in the trillions of dollars.
And small businesses, David. I actually
Yeah.
had my had a salon during that time
Mhm.
when this happened, and I had just opened my biggest salon. I had a small one, and I had opened my biggest one at the time. And I knew I was like, and I knew when I opened this salon that this was going to be like this salon was really going to work. I had planned it for quite a while, and I had put all the pieces in place.
Yeah.
Then we have this, people can't afford to get services from me when they're trying to figure out how to buy gas and groceries and survive
Yeah.
what was happening. And I suffered as a small business. I had to close my salon and go into a smaller capacity just to survive. And I still was struggling. But I know as a small business person, that would have helped me tremendously during that time.
Yeah. And uh, my feeling is that a lot of small businesses are really, in many ways, um, people who are self-employed or um, um, who employ a small number of other people are really in a position of competition with the big businesses. For
Unfortunately, yes. And we
and
shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. Small businesses shouldn't have to compete with big business. We can't compete with big business.
the thing is that with millions of small businesses hiring small numbers of people on their work in their workforce, um, that creates a greater demand for labor.
She says he bailed out homes after ADOS lost theirs. After so many people had lost theirs, then he bailed out homes. That's what she said.
Well, yeah, that is, I mean, the racial discrimination that went into the bailout is clear. The racial discrimination that went into the expansion of the homeowners market was
Tapping on the table, David. Your screen
yeah,
is shaky.
The subprime loans that were given out to Black people steered into subprime loans during the 90s and early aughts. Um, there were hundreds of Wells Fargo and other big banks were fined hundreds of millions of dollars for the racial discrimination that they perpetrated. Um, so where at the same time that racial discrimination was did nothing to help European American working people who are homeowners. Um, one of the things that I've mentioned many times, is that the home mortgage interest deduction on your taxes um, is supposedly available to everyone, uh, who owns a home. But in fact, you have to itemize your taxes in order to get the deduction. And 2/3 of the people who are homeowners who have mortgages don't itemize their tax returns, so they don't get any benefit from the home mortgage interest deduction in their taxes. The ones who do are the upper third. The 2/3 don't, but the third that does is the upper third of homeowners, um, who have accountants, who have uh, you know uh, the
So
uh,
David, circle back, come back with me, circle back to I want to talk about, like I say, I want to go into the history of you because you never did go there with me, but I want to go there. I told you my energy is not going to change today, guys. I think I'm the type of person, just to kind of give y'all some insight on my personality. I don't get mad easily. But once I get mad, I'm mad, and I'm mad about this, that this race to the United States Senate, David, is not about me. It is absolutely not about me. I talk about reparations. I talk about the repair, the redress that needs to happen for Black America. I talk about the problems that plague us as a nation, from healthcare to education to infrastructure, to the climate, to criminal justice. I talk about all the things. My candidacy is not about me. It is
right.
not about me. It is bigger than me.
Not only that, but we have gone two places now that would have um, uh, you would have expected to have you know two places
Where
uh,
we would not have expected to have had the support that we have,
have
David.
have any support for
Yes.
reparations.
And I'm
And
a shout out to Whitfield County and Stevens County. Like, let me give y'all a big old shout out, because Whitfield County and Stevens County seems to be predominantly white. David and I have traveled to both counties. Whitfield, which is northwest, yeah, a little bit west Georgia, and then Stevens is a little more northeast Georgia.
yeah,
And David and I have traveled to these very white counties where honestly, you would think that we wouldn't have support. I didn't know what to expect, honestly. In
yeah,
this
I know.
environment nationally where it was so much
Yeah.
racial tension, I honestly didn't know what to expect going into these white counties. But I can tell you guys that both of these counties, I'm gonna let David tell it because I think it might come across a little different from him than me. But go ahead, David.
Yeah, last winter we were in Dalton at a county Democratic meeting, and just on Thursday we were at Toccoa at a county Democratic meeting in Stevens County. And in both cases, when Tamara stated her platform, it was enthusiastically supported by the Democrats who were who were listening, who were part of the committee, part of the leadership of the Democrats in those two areas. And that's why I'm so upset about what's happening in the 14th congressional district over in Dalton. We still don't know if there's a Democratic candidate who's running against this QAnon crazy lady. I mean, if she walks into that seat without any opposition, that's
And here's David another point where the Democratic Party should be thinking about that particular race, where you have no Democrat running in the race. The Democrat that was in the 14th congressional district dropped out, right?
yes.
Where you have no Democrat running in that race, and why not focus on these races where we don't have representation as a party, right? Why not focus there?
Yeah, and if they think that this is that they're thinking, the Democratic centrist establishment here is thinking strategically, they certainly are not, because abandoning those races means that you're leaving votes on the table. There are votes in Winfield and Stevens County. And there are high energy activists in the party,
and I believe they're more progressive, David, than anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was so surprised. Like, I felt like this progressive kind of energy. Like, these are not really establishment Democrats up here in these areas. We have ADOS in the house. I've been waiting on her to drop in. Good morning, Angela.
Good morning, ADOS and our allies. What's up, Tamara? What's up, David?
Hi.
Good morning, Angela. Welcome, y'all. Angela, Nirvana, ADOS on the West Coast. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm sorry I'm so late. I had some really noisy neighbors at like 3 a.m. So, and we went hard in the paint over that Trump Platinum plan on my show last night. We went close to 3 hours dissecting it and chatting with the ADOS and allies in the chat. And it was just rich, in terms of what we uncovered and the work that is yet to be done. One of the things I can commend Trump on is at least he's offering a platinum plan. Joe Biden offered a lift every voice but ADOS plan. And so, I have to commend Trump for his efforts. And he's starting with a really good foundation. But of course, it needs that ADOS polish on it. So, there's work to be done.
And this is where we talk about, and I just said that the black vote, this ADOS vote, is so concentrated behind what the pastor says, and that D behind the person's name is they're so caught up with indoctrinated into those two things. And we got to start looking at politics. This is a game. This is a sport, and we got to play to win as a people.
Yes, we do. And we are. We have a Democratic down ballot strategy to gridlock government. I mean, we don't care if there's a Republican top in a Democratic Congress. Let them hug it out until they do right by ADOS, who have been their mules for 60 years. We're done being the mules of the Democratic Party. And it's a brand new day with us woke boomers, with us woke Gen Xers, with us woke millennials. We are no longer doing this two-step, lesser two evils, two-step shuffle to our own peril. We are fully awoke. We are very much aware of the identity politics that are being played on us and have been being played on us. And ADOS demands tangibles in exchange for our vote. Reparations. There is no other way. Either party has come up with a solution to close a $100 trillion egregious racial wealth gap when our ancestors are the ones who built all the wealth each of them eat from the table of. We're done being the legs, and capitalism requires a bottom cast. This election cycle, ADOS is rising. We're not going for this anymore. We're done. Stick a fork in us.
Say it. Couldn't wait for you to get here, Angela. Couldn't wait, because I Georgia is a state, Angela, and I traveled around Georgia the whole month of August, getting into these rural areas, and our people gotta wake up. We gotta see, and I've been going down and trying to start little fires, like wake up, This is a new day. This is a new day. And they hear me. And when I talk about reparations and I talk about this movement and I talk about what needs to happen for us as a people, they perk up. They get it.
Oh, they get it. And they're grateful to have an ADOS like yourself for ADOS in that Congress. And that is what we're working to do. We need all ADOS on deck. We need you at those polls, Obama-style numbers. Do you hear me? Not even Hillary. We showed up 90% to give the vote to Hillary, who called us super predators, who did damage to Haiti. I mean, they're sitting up here talking about Julian Assange. He wasn't doing nothing but telling the TR Ruth. You hear me? That wasn't no Russiagate. That is Democrats' way of scapegoating the real issues that undergird the Democratic Party. They are not the People's Party. They are working for corporate. Both sides. How in the world do you sit up here and co-opt an entire election? Bernie Sanders won 3 states straight before Joe Biden went to South Carolina, and the sleep boomers end up voting for him under Jim Clyburn's directive. I mean, let's look at Jim Clyburn's territory, that he covers. Are these people balling out of control? No. How are their communities? They're distressed. And you're going to go down there and continue to feed this cyanide to the people of South Carolina to get them to go out here and vote for Joe. Then Obama, once again, like he's doing with Minister Warnock, puts his thumb, puts his nose, his whole body. He interferes with the entire election process, co-opts it, like they did in 2016 with Bernie Sanders. Same stuff. They want to talk about the Republicans suppressing the vote. Nobody wants to talk about that superdelegate suppressing the vote when Bernie was getting votes, and then they would put their thumb on the needle the same way and decide, I'm not going to vote the way of the constituents. I am going to give it to Hillary because we've already decided that's where it's going. Well, we're not falling for it anymore. We're at the place where we're going to socialize our suffering. That is what the ADOS is here to do. And it's not enough to march for Black Lives Matter, because being poor in this country makes you a target. And this country decided long ago, when it drug us over here and changed, since prior to that, the Spaniards owned us first. And then the Europeans got in on the act. So you don't get to drag us over here and decide for your capitalism's sake to tether us to the bottom. That is what we're done doing. I have said on my show many times that ADOS in LA are $200 liquid. To African immigrants, $60,000 liquid. To Kamala's Asian Indian, $245,000 liquid. Houston, this is seriously a problem when you have weaponized immigration to keep us tethered to the bottom. And yes, I get that your capitalism requires a bottom cast. What I'm here to tell the Democrats and the Republicans is, we're done being the bottom. We're done being the legs. And you're going to feel that when we get to the polls this election cycle.
Preach. I couldn't wait for you to get here.
ADOS rising. We're not on this. These people are playing serious games. Just want to continue to make ADOS use their vote to save white folks. We didn't vote Trump in. It ain't my job to leverage my vote, the only commodity I've got, to unseat him. And that's what far too many ADOS, the lineage is on. Unseating Trump. Okay? These white folks voted him. That's y'all's monkey and y'all's circus. That's y'all's embarrassment. We don't own that. And let me help you understand. We've been suffering since we got here. Everybody else is uncomfortable. Everybody else is looking at him as the embarrassment. This is no different than the book I'm covering on my show, Prejudicial. Black Americans and these presidents. From George Washington all the way to Trump. They have all worked to keep us tethered to the bottom, robbing us of all of our resources. We have been pulling ourselves up by our bootless straps, or we would be extinct instead of 35 million strong. Now, we could have been 55 million strong had folks like Ginsburg not been in full support of abortion rights to extinct us. Lots of eugenists out here. We lost 20 million Black babies have been aborted. Instead of bringing education, jobs, and businesses into our communities, you plant abortion clinics there. 20 million babies have been lost to abortion since 73. And now Hispanics are 56 million strong in this country to our 35 million. So this is the last election cycle. We'll be able to make a serious dent in this election for both sides to feel us. Okay, we need everybody at the polls. I've already done several shows on how not to suppress your own vote. I know we want to show up and fill in ADOS at the top of the ticket, but myself and the ADOS DMV has been doing research on that. Lots of restricted states and quite a few never write-in states. I'm saying don't risk your entire ballot getting thrown out. You put Green Party top of that ticket or leave it blank if they're not on your ticket, because the Democrats are working feverishly to get them removed off the ticket. In Pennsylvania and Texas, it's already going down. They want them off because they don't want for the Green Party to, they need every vote because they know what they've done. They know they've co-opted the entire election to get Jim Crow, segregationist Jim Crow Joe Biden, okay, off of the 94 crime bill. They had to steal this whole primary to put him top a ticket, and then he turns around and give us Callie's top cop, Skamala the Chameleon, okay, who is anything she needs to be to any group of people she's speaking to, because they need to rally all those votes. And all you see is the Democrats offering every other group the farm, but ADOS. You want to give us this toothless kind of, I don't know, like I said, lift every voice but ADOS plan that does nothing to make us whole. That little crap they're offering on both sides doesn't close a $100 trillion racial wealth gap. We made Cotton King to the tune of $42 trillion. We are long overdue, and we are tired, and we ain't taking it no more. Show up to the polls in Obama-style numbers. Put Green Party, because guess what? They're offering reparations. It needs some help. We don't expect them to win, but we expect them to, we're going to leverage that Green Party vote to break the back of the establishment like only ADOS can. Y'all have to understand that's on us. We got to deliver a Democratic Congress because we're seeking to replace the majority of them within 2 years with the likes of Tamara Johnson-shealey. And understand this ain't a money thing. Who was that? Cori Bush? She didn't have a whole bunch of money. She had a whole bunch of folks working to spread her name because she's really, a little bit more progressive. We've got an opportunity for the first time that I know of to get an ADOS in that Congress that is for ADOS reparations. Tamara will be our first. We need to donate, volunteer, support, vote. And it doesn't matter where you live in this country. We need to replace at least 100 people in that Congress like Tamara. We don't get to do that if we vote Green Party or Libertarian or anything else down that ticket. We cannot have a trifecta, family. Understand me when I'm telling you. A trifecta meaning a Dem top and Dem Congress, or Republican top and Republican Congress. ADOS is finished. These Democrats are talking about giving access on these borders to 11 million more Hispanics, Latinx. You understand what I'm telling you? They have 56 million. That's going to put them at 67 million. How dare you, USA, make and give a pathway to immigrants on two fronts. You give them access and a pathway to citizenship, and then you have the unmitigated gall to put someone who ski-wees from Howard University, you put her within one generation, you give her a pathway to the presidency before you give it to ADOS, who built this country. How dare you? It's despicable, your tactics. And I'm here to tell you, we're not laying down and taking this crap anymore. Show up to the polls, family. Green Party's offering reparations, and they've got an ADOS running on that VP ticket. Angela Walker. She's a truck driver and a single mom. So wherever you can vote Green Party, at the top only. Because if you give any green away in the Congress, you're going to split the ticket and give it to a Republican Congress. We got to get Mitch out of there. Okay, Kentucky, where you at? Y'all got to unseat him. I'm here to tell you that needs to be what you eat, sleep, and drink. And we've got to, in Georgia, get Tamara in. I see Obama sitting up here endorsing Warnock. How problematic is that? Okay, this is a conflation of church and state. I didn't even know that was allowed. So I'm here to tell you, all hands on deck. You need to be speaking on ADOS. You need to be speaking on fixing HR 40, which has no teeth in it. Sheila Jackson Lee is over that. Okay, you need to be speaking on making sure Tamara gets in there. She's got to get this seat because it's going to set a precedent to give us the inspiration to continue driving this narrative all the way to when those seats come up in 2022. Okay, we ain't looking at 2024. Our purview as the ADOS movement is 2022. We need more Tamara Johnson-Shealeys in there. So dig deep, family. You may have to give up your nails. I don't know what you're gonna have to do, but you need to really be supporting Tamara. It's very difficult to have a CBC that looks like you that ain't representing you. They're representing everybody but you. Okay, when they were over there on those steps at the Supreme Court, 1866, I didn't see any of the NAACP or the National Urban League over there with us, but they sure were on the side of DACA the day prior. And when ADOS DMV asked them where were they for the 1866 to preserve our right to sue for discrimination, in part, without this but-for clause that it's now become, they said, well, why weren't we on the steps for DACA? When has DACA recipients ever been on the steps for ADOS? These immigrants are nowhere to be found. You may have a few allies, but you don't have many. Why? They don't want that bottom. But guess what? You don't get to come over here and have a pathway to citizenship before this country makes us American. And that's the square we are on until the Democrats come through for the ADOS. I'll take a breath.
I love you, Angela, because, you know, not many people will speak up the way you do. So I appreciate your voice, your platform. You know, David, I know this is a lot, and I see you over there taking notes. I know this is a lot, but you have to understand the frustration that is inside of us. We are tired, and I'm telling you, I have been feeling like mad since yesterday when I saw where Raphael Warnock has been endorsed by President Obama. No more of this identity politics, you know, no more of, you know, we're beyond that as a people. Breonna, like I say, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud here, Aubrey here in Georgia, we're over it. We're done. This generation, we're done. We will take this, we will take another 4 years of Trump before we give. We're there. We're there, Angela. We're there.
Okay. We're absolutely there, but with good reason. When you miseducate us, you rob us of a proper education. I've shared on one of my shows about how down here in Long Beach, I was only able to afford to purchase my home in a slightly marginal neighborhood. Well, they allowed me school of choice, K through 5. We got to middle school and we had to, and so my daughter got a privileged education in a white cul-de-sac. Okay. So when she was starting to progress to middle school, they gave us fewer choices. No one educated us on the fact that we shouldn't pick the top 3 white schools in the district. These are public schools, that we should not all pick those 3. Because when we did that, there were so many whites that are able to benefit from that education because they live in the district. So we all got kicked back to our black and brown schools. So you want to break the spirit in the backs, or you want to get your API scores up on the back of my daughter in the jungle. Well, I ended up going to a meeting, cornered the superintendent when he failed to respond to my emails. He knew who it was when I spoke because I write like I speak with authority. And so he asked me, please calm down. I will speak with you after this, because he didn't want me to embarrass him in front of the white parents. But that's what I was prepared to do. Take it down. You're not going to do this to my child and kick her back to the jungle. Because guess what? I pay property taxes. My property taxes aren't here to be utilized just for your white children to have the best of public education. And my daughter will not be sitting up here being bullied because you've oppressed this group of people so they behave like they're in a jungle. That is by the design of institutional systemic racism. Well, he got with me and told me My daughter couldn't go to the white school 4 miles from my home. She had to be bused 20 miles to and from where I lived, and there were no buses. So can you imagine 6 through 8 having to make sure I arranged a co-parenting situation with another mom to make sure my daughter got a superior education? So they have robbed us of education. Every time we built a Black Wall Street, which we had about 60, they came through and burned it down under Jim Crow. Y'all already know how the Union, after Lincoln was assassinated, the Union troops were pulled out and left us to our masters for more lynching, more oppression, more burning of our everything we built. They torched to the ground. Do you understand me? And so, anywho, so we've been miseducated. We lack education. Even in the public school system, you want to take money out of that. Why? Because you want to build a preschool to prison pipeline. We've got close to 1 million or more Black men on lockdown, more than all the women in the free world, okay? And you want to have brothers in there for weed offenses. They still on lockdown while you plant the cannabis shops in our communities that white folks own and white folks come from their neighborhoods to purchase, while you won't give Black folks, ex-felons who were locked up for marijuana, now that you legalize it, you won't give them access to turning that profits off the business. So the states turn the profit while we continue to do time. So you build a preschool to prison pipeline for ADOS specifically. One brother just asked me, about these executions, how the police and their bullets don't discriminate in terms of if it's a Black immigrant or if it's an ADOS. I said, sure they do. Because when you're worth $200 liquid versus African immigrants, 60,000 liquid, those police know exactly who they've come to execute. When you 60,000 liquid, you ain't living in East LA. You ain't living in South Central when you're worth that kind of money. So when the police, the race soldiers are in our communities, we know exactly who you come to execute. That's ADOS. So they build preschool to prison pipelines. It's built in the law that these race soldiers can shoot first and ask questions later. Okay? You're talking about a big legal thing. We've got to legislate. We've got to change the laws for any of this to go away. Neither president is talking about dismantling private prisons, the new slavery. Okay? So the cops of today were the slave patrols of yesteryear. Okay, and these private prisons ain't nothing but convict leasing. When our brothers and sisters, our ancestors refused to work those sharecropping farms. Why? Because it was driving them into debt. They were never going to be able to, they were going to die on the sharecropping farms. They always find another way to enslave us. And when you refuse to do it, you were convict leased out to the very owners you refused to sharecrop for. And if you refuse, about 50% of those prisoners, they had debtors prisoner, they have vagrancy laws, all kind of things to re-enslave us. And that is exactly what the private prisons are today. So if you're not talking about dismantling private prisons, and you're not talking about doing away with qualified immunity, you're not serious. As a matter of fact, Biden can do you one better. He's pandering so hard for those Republican votes. He done sat up here and offered $350 million, while in an era of defund the police and Black Lives Matter. But y'all want us to run out here and vote for him and Cali's top cop. Y'all got the ADOS all the way mixed up. We've been on this same down ballot for a while now, and we will see how it works out. But you've got a lot of woke ADOS who are definitely planning to participate in this protest vote. And we will watch, rinse, repeat until the Democrats who owe us make us whole.
David, you are exhausted. I can see it. I will tell you, David is like, I don't know what to do with this. Go ahead, David. Try.
No, I just wanted to correct something that an impression that I gave, a false impression that I think I gave when I talked about the receptivity of those northeast and northwest counties to reparations, because those counties were sundown counties. They were places where Black people were not allowed to settle, and they're white by design. They're not simply by white by accident. Forsyth County in 1913 um, gave all of the Black people, something like 13,000 of them, 24 hours to leave the county, and they were forced to move um, into Atlanta from Forsyth, and so the whole north of Atlanta is really been purged of Black people. So I agree. I agree that we got a good reception there, and but I don't think that people really recognize what reparations would mean, for those areas that have been, excuse me, that have been historically white. Um, and so I do think that there is an argument to be made, and that there are people whose European Americans whose interests are are in 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 favor and in support of reparations, but they really have to think about what the implications are for uh, for what they're
And
doing.
that's the work, David, and that's the work that white America has to do. Like that is the work, because Black people, what you hear from Angela and what you're getting from me today, David, is a level of frustration that we have reached a point. We have reached a point where we're tired and we're done being tired.
Yeah.
We're done. We're done. Go ahead, Angela.
I have a question of David. What is it that when it comes to repairing ADOS, we need everybody's permission? I don't remember anybody asking me permission when this country continuously gives to Israel. Obama, during his tenure, I know of 12 million he gave towards their Holocaust. I don't remember anyone asking about whether or not we should repair the Japanese. I don't remember anyone asking permission to repair the Indians to the degree that they have. This is a debt that is owed by this government, who is instrumental, not just slavery and Jim Crow, but we're talking they owe us repair for accrued, ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage. Why do we need the whites to concur on that? They don't need nobody's permission when it's time to buffer up corporate or time to bail out the stock market and make it appear like the country is doing well in an era of COVID when you've got 60 million people on unemployment rolls. Nobody needs permission for that. But when it comes to the ADOS, we need to study it into perpetuity under HR 40. We need to get the white support. Can you help me with that? Why?
No, I can't. I mean, there's no explanation for it. You're asking a rhetorical question when you pose that. I'm simply saying that there are working class European Americans who think and act white now, who, if they thought in terms of their class interests, would see that reparations for ADOS actually is in their interests. It's an overwhelming it overwhelms me as an individual, but not as a collective to begin to deepen that process of educating people about their class interests. And I've been doing it more or less, with a very small group of people for decades now, and it's possible that given the given Sanders' defeat, that out of Sanders' defeat will come a rethinking and a reevaluation of the relationships between European and African American working people. That's what. But the problem has been that that most of the people who are leading the Sanders progressive wing Democratic Socialists, they see the question of class solidarity as a laundry list, rather than seeing that the critical element in class solidarity is the rejection of the unequal status that whites have. The House of working people has got to put itself in order if there's going to be
So,
a solidarity that's going to translate into power.
so David, we're at the top of the hour. Angela, I want to let you hear the radio ad. I tried to play it earlier. So can you, Angela, are you frozen?
For me?
Oh, no, you're not frozen. Good. I'm
No,
going to let you guys hear the radio ad. Tell me if you can hear it. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear it, because we're going to be on our way out. You hear it?
it's faint.
I am Tamara Johnson-shealey, your candidate for the United States Senate. Say it with me, reparations. Say it with me, reparations. Say it with me, reparations. And here is why: slavery, black codes, convict leasing, Jim Crow, no New Deal, no GI Bill, redlining, war on drugs, mass incarceration, and now COVID-19. I am Tamara Johnson-shealey, your candidate for the United States Senate, and we have no time to be playing games. We need reparations now, and a vote for me on November 3rd is a vote for you.
Paid for by the Committee to Elect Tamara Johnson-shealey, Tamara for Georgia, to the United States Senate.
Did you hear it? Uh-oh, let me unmute you guys. Could you hear it?
It was powerful.
Yeah.
How do we get a copy of that to social media?
It goes out today. I'll send it to you. Everything goes out today. I am Tamara Johnson-shealey. I want to thank Miss Angela Nirvana. She is at Friends of ADOS TV, guys. Follow her. She is on fire. All the education. This is the re-education of us as a people, and why our political power, that's our power, economic and political power. So thank you, Angela, for your voice in this movement. It is much appreciated. It's much appreciated. David, you can find him right here on Facebook at Acknowledge the Divide. And again, I am Tamara Johnson-shealey, your candidate for the United States Senate. I'm not quitting. I'm not going nowhere. We got a race to win. We got ADOS. We have a reparations agenda to take to Washington. Let's do it. Thank you, family.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Have a great